Welcome to Onchain Capital, your front row seat to the future of finance. From Web3 innovation and digital asset policy to the power shift between East and West. Today, I am with Mark from Kraken, and we're going to talk all about some of the work that they are doing. So welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks so much for having me.
So you're in beautiful Hong Kong. Look at this amazing background. Obviously, there's a reason why you're here. But before we talk about that, I want to touch a little bit about the sheer background that we have.
Sure.
So you're from Toronto.
That's
recently.
Right.
I used to be from Toronto. So, but you also spent a bit of time in Hong Kong. When was that?
Yeah, when I was in law school many years ago, I got a chance to study at HKU, Hong Kong University. So
Hong Kong U.
yeah,
Wow.
I spent one of my favorite years in my whole life here, and I'm just always excited to come back and see this wonderful city.
So this is a little bit like coming to home for you, for a little bit, right?
Absolutely, this is for sure my second home in Macau.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about Kraken, right? So you're head of the consumer business. So of course, when we think about the consumer business, traditionally we think about crypto stock, crypto native assets, and so on. But of course, you guys are moving very aggressively into the tokenized security space. So talk a little bit about what you're doing there and why you're going into that space.
Yeah, so it actually starts pretty simply. So crypto trading is just easy for most people. You don't have to necessarily KYC on all platforms. You can trade 24/7.
Yes.
You can move from Coinbase to Kraken or to Binance or otherwise very simply. That doesn't exist today in the equities world. And it's something that as we think about how we can be the best trading, the best investment, the best saving platform in the world, we figured we had to find new ways to potentially build equities that would have that same benefits. And so about 6 months ago, we launched a product called Xtocks. Xtocks are tokenized equities. They're regulated out of Europe, and they allow for permissionless equities, which you can trade 24/7. You can use in any wallet. You can do across Solana and Ethereum, and they're just regular SPLs or ERC20s. And so they work in all sorts of different DeFi applications just out of the box. We launched that about 6 months ago. We've had great success so far. We have about $20 billion of volume between centralized exchanges and decentralized ones. And it's just been a really exciting ride for us and something that we're looking forward to expanding.
So what kind of equities are you allowed, have you actually tokenized? Are these mostly US stocks, ETFs, potentially?
Yeah, so it's a mixture of US stocks and ETFs right now.
Right.
That's going to change pretty soon. So we wanted to start slowly, find a few equities to with high liquidity to get the market going, to figure out how this would play on DEXs and in wallets. Now that we have more than 100 Xtocks partners, we're at a place now where we're thinking about, okay, how do we go from the 70 or 75 equities and ETFs we have today to many tens of thousands? And that's one of the reasons I'm actually here in Hong Kong, is we're thinking about how we bring Hong Kong equities, Asian equities into the Xtocks platform.
Okay, so your portfolio right now of products that you offer, I assume primarily US based. So that means you're primarily serving US users. Are the international users on Kraken able to get access to Xtocks?
So actually it's the opposite. So while it is US equities, we don't actually sell. Xtocks are not allowed in the United States yet.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay.
Most of our users are in Latin America, Asia, or Africa today, and a little bit in places like CIS, so Uzbekistan and and markets like that. And that part of why Xtocks is so great is all you need is $5 or $10 and you can buy some. And so apps like Telegram even use tokenized equities, use Xtocks. You can go into your Telegram app anywhere in the world and buy Xtocks. You don't necessarily have to set up a brokerage account, have a minimum balance, spend a lot of money on commission. It's actually something you can do very quickly and easily. And so it's much more than just a US play for us. This is about bringing equities from around the world to users around the world.
So part of the whole narrative about financial inclusion, bringing access to the wider markets, and then also making products that are accessible in a particular region accessible in others as well. So that's really amazing.
Exactly. And so if you think about me as a Canadian, one thing that I always have struggled with is being able to buy stocks from other parts of the world. Right. And so I went to go to buy Adyen. Adyen's a European stock. And I tried to buy it in my regular bank brokerage account. Not available. I eventually did manage to buy some kind of version of it through the United States. But then when I went to go sell it later, actually it was unsellable as well because they didn't have the permission to allow me to sell it.
I see.
Those kind of things, even in a market like Canada, where you would think you would have access to lots of different markets, being able to buy European stocks, being able to buy Hong Kong stocks, really hard to do.
It's very difficult. And so, you got to open accounts in all different places.
Exactly.
Different KYC requirements, onboarding is a pain. Interesting.
And so imagine if you could trade equities from everywhere in the world as easily as you trade Bitcoin or Ethereum or any meme coin. And that's the kind of thing that we're bringing with Xtocks. And so,
and do you allow for the transfer of these assets from one user to another rather than back to the exchange?
Absolutely, fully permissionless. So,
so you're really taking the Web3 primitives and bringing that onto traditional products.
Exactly, that's what you need. So there are lots of tokenized equity products that are permissioned. You need to have special wallets. You need to use special dexes. We very early on said that we would never do it that way. We're Kraken. We believe in Web3. We believe in doing this in a permissionless way. Took us a long time to figure out how exactly to do that, but we have this
problem to solve.
No, but we have a fantastic regulated product now that can still be permissionless, and it just allows all of DeFi to work. So Camino or Aave or all these markets just work in a different way. Jupiter, you can just use them no differently than you're using USDC or USDG or Bitcoin or whatever other asset, KBTC or whatever you're using on those platforms.
So let's talk a little bit about the regulatory side, right? So obviously, what you're doing is bringing accessibility, but when you're dealing in so many different markets and users from different regions, obviously the notion of whether you have the right regulatory coverage, whether they're allowed to do it, what are other regulators thinking about this? Have you have any interaction from the regulatory side in terms of how you're structuring these so that it is compliant not only in the US but also to users in other regions?
So absolutely. So we started with our European regulators and we helped build this structure with them. And so Xtocks are regulated through prospectuses that are issued out of Liechtenstein. We've talked with all the European regulators about launching that. That's part one. Second is we have an exchange that trades these things based in Bermuda. We worked very closely with the Bermuda Monetary Authority to make sure that they were comfortable that we could trade these things in a way that was safe and secure and would make sense. And then after we launched, I've been so impressed to see regulators around the world, exchanges around the world come talk to us about how we bring this product into their markets. And so in places like Canada, in the UK, in the US with the SEC, in Australia, and basically just all over the world, we're having conversations about how to take the same regulated product and bring it into their markets. So early days still, this is a brand new type of product, but we're very optimistic we'll be able to bring it in a regulated fashion to every single country around the world.
So I'm going to throw you a question that we've been asking it ever since the crypto was invented, right? And that is, how do we make it accessible and how do we make it so that we can have 100, 200, 500 million users? It is the notion of bringing products that people are familiar with, like Tesla stocks, Apple stocks, but now in a fractional manner that you could get access to. Do you think that is partially part of the approach to taking it to mass markets?
Part of what I'm really excited about with Xtocks being just regular, boring old SPL tokens.
Boring is good very often.
Exactly. Is it's infrastructure that folks know how to build on top of right now. And so we're in a place where, actually use this as an example. The very first billboard ever about Xtocks was from a South African company in South Africa. We weren't involved in it at all. They've used Xtocks to sell in South Africa, in South Africa and Johannesburg to their clients.
Right.
We have a bank that we're working with called Neobankless in Latin America who are using tokenized equities to sell equities into their clients inside their neobank. For me, part of the best parts about the blockchain ecosystem, about crypto, is how many things can be built on top of it. And Xtocks are exactly the same way. So we have 100 plus partners and we have as many partners as we can find in Xtocks for a reason. We're not going to build every single application or experience that users will want around equities. But if we bring hundreds of thousands or hopefully millions over time of developers into the ecosystem, they will build a whole set of their own applications using Xtocks that will help build that ubiquity. For me, that's me really excited.
So let's take a step back a little bit, right? So what you're offering is what traditional financial institutions have been talking about offering for a long time.
Yep.
Right? Market expansion, offices, right? And essentially gaining access for users from different reasons to get in. You're now going from the other direction. How are the traditional companies looking at this? Like the traditional brokerage firms, investment banks. I mean, you are now making it so easy that typically what a high net worth individual may be able to get, or a US user may be able to get, now you're able to get it in Africa, as Ian mentioned. Well, how do you see that happening?
I have been so impressed, Eddie, at how many traditional players have come to the table and tried to build alongside us. So take the announcement we made this week with Deutsche Börse.
Yes.
Deutsche Börse now lists Xtocks on their 360X exchange. So Xtocks are now offered through Deutsche Börse, a very traditional old European exchange.
Right.
We're talking with other exchanges around the world, in the US, in the UK, and everybody is interested for bringing these kinds of products to market. Obviously, it's taken them too long, in my mind, to make it happen. But now that there are real products in market and we can see the start of product market fit,
Right.
I think everybody's recognizing they have to come to the table. And I look forward to, I think we're going to have a lot more announcements like that Deutsche Börse one.
Excellent. So I would, maybe you can talk about it, but I would assume the fact that you're in Hong Kong and spending some time in Asia, there's going to be a lot of conversations around these areas that you're tapping into.
For sure. So we'd love to bring more Asian crypto exchanges and equity players into the Xtocks ecosystem. So we already have Xtocks on Bybit, for instance, and we're bringing many more platforms to the table. And then on the other side, I think I said it already, but I hope we'll bring Hong Kong stocks and Chinese stocks into the Xtocks ecosystem this year. So we're just working through some of the thinking around that right now.
Yeah, Hong Kong has really made a comeback. And I believe the last 12 months it was the IPO center of the world yet again, right? Coming back to that mental. So there's going to be a lot of new projects, especially AI projects, that are coming out of China. That might be coming to a list in Hong Kong, which may be made available on Xtocks.
For sure, we're excited to bring different kinds of investment opportunities to people around the world. And easy to start with US stocks. We know it best, and we had some of the infrastructure set up. But that's only the beginning. We got so much more to build with this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. That is really amazing. The fact that you're here talking about some of these latest innovation, not only in the technology, but on the financial product offering aspect. Really, really good to see. So, Mark, thank you again for coming on the show.
Hey,
really glad to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Bye for now.